Hey Spider Nation, welcome back to another episode of Spider-Man's Tangled WebShow. I'm Jonathan, webmaster of SpiderManFanRave.com, SpiderManFanRave.com. Going over there, we got some cool Spider-Man stuff. We focus on celebrating our favorite character. Anything you want to talk about, you can talk about it over there, SpiderManFanRave.com. I'm the main webmaster of that. I usually post most of the articles. James contributes to it a little bit, but usually I'm the one who's running it. You can leave comments on any of the articles. Sometimes I just post stupid stuff. I like to post weird stuff. Don't blame me. I'm an eccentric person, and we're all weird in our own special way. All right.
It's mostly his psychotic love letters to the cast of Amazing Spider-Man film movies.
Yeah, I don't deny that. All right. Today I'm being joined by James. What's going on, James? You already heard him a little bit.
Not much. I'm just having a really good week. Finals are coming up next week, but this week actually was pretty good and decent, and I'm actually in a good mood. It's kind of funny how you get in a good mood when your team wins on a game-winning Hail Mary with no time left on the clock. Oh, I love it. Unlike, Cleveland Brown fans who lose with no time left on the clock.
Yeah, I noticed on Facebook, James, you really spammed my newsfeed with about 5 different fucking Packers posts. Thank you very much, James.
We won on a game-winning Hail Mary. I was a little bit excited and a little bit drunk.
Yeah, I could tell that from the 5 posts on Facebook, James. Thanks a lot. What have I been up to this week? I've also had a pretty good week myself. Got some good scores on a music theory test, so that was very good. I was very excited about that. What else happened to me this week? It's damn cold in here in Northeast Ohio, but that's to be expected. It's the beginning of December. What else? Well, my family is building a house, and that is progressing along. We're hoping to move in very soon. So hopefully that continues to go well. And as long as that goes well, I guess there's really nothing else to talk about for me this week. Got finals coming up next week. Yeah, I'll be done. I'll be done with the fall semester. Then I get to take my Christmas break and learn a lot more music stuff that I have to learn before Theory 2 and other classes. Lots of fun. Some other classes I have to take child psychology, because that's required as an education major, the music education part of it. Child psychology, I have to take that. I have to take history of music. Got to take more of that. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I say that somewhat sarcastically and somewhat seriously.
As for next semester for me, I got culinary too. I got baking. I got psychology, because you also need psychology for cooking too. Because obviously, it gets stressful and all the stuff in the kitchen that can go wrong. I got menu planning, and I got one more class. Interpersonal communications. So yeah.
I took an interpersonal communication class once. I had the best professor you will ever have, because he showed up to class probably one. I won't give the guy's name. He showed up to class fairly stoned every day. I'm convinced he was, and it was amazing because his views and his perspectives on everything were absolutely hilarious. And the thing was, it was an interesting look at the sociology and the psychology of how humans interact. It was wonderful. That's all I will say. Yeah, I guess that's all we have to talk about as for ourselves this week. But now let's move on to. We're getting into this habit of talking about things that are only quasi-related to Spider-Man. Last week we talked about Captain America: Civil War. Hell yeah! But this week we're going to talk about a guest appearance of a certain character that James is very passionate about, and I'm also a fan of her as well. Mary Jane Watson. Yes, Mary Jane, who many people argue to be the primary love interest of Spider-Man, who is obviously the main topic of this show, so we're kind of getting away with this based on association there. Mary Jane Watson, the primary love interest of Spider-Man, is now taking on a guest starring role in Invincible Iron Man. And as you can see by the cover I'm holding up here, I apologize for the audio listeners on iTunes who can't see it. The cover I'm holding up here depicts Mary Jane holding the Iron Man faceplate. Make way for Mary Jane with the anti-Spider-Man symbol right there in the front of the cover. Is this a ploy?
which is clearly just put there because they know just that cover alone is going to make some people go, "Oh my god!"
Yes, and then those very same people are going to buy the issue. And to be honest, hey James, how'd that work out?
How did what work out?
Because remember, James, remember our original podcast, and remember Ranger Board? Didn't you buy this issue anyways?
No, I didn't.
Okay, thanks,
No,
James.
actually, I did. Okay, that was a joke. Okay, I did. But like I said on there to clarify, I will read the first issue to see how it goes because I'm not an idiot who's just going to say I quit reading it and then either A, quit it and ends up being I'm wrong, or C, I say I do it and I don't do it anyways. I said I'll go all the way up until 4 and I'll see what happens and I'll go from there.
Just as a pretense, James, are you going to be picking up issue 5 after this?
I have to now because this issue just left me without even knowing what the fuck's going on anymore.
Yeah, okay. Let's get this out of the way right now. Mary Jane is on 2 pages. Maybe it's 3 pages. I don't know, but she's at the very end of the issue. This issue is not what is advertised on the cover. It proves the "don't judge a book by its cover" phrase. And you know why that is? Because this issue is mainly Tony Stark arguing with his artificial intelligence. Now, some people may say that that's sad and shows signs of deep psychological issues and loneliness. I say it's a filler issue, and nothing happens.
I say it's a Bendis issue.
Yes, James was explained to me before the show that this is often what Brian Michael Bendis, the writer of this issue, does to expand his story arcs, and some people call it writing for the trade. Some people call it just general decompression of the narrative. Yeah,
and some people call it Bendis pulling a Bendis.
Yeah, Mary Jane does not do much in this issue. To sum up exactly what Mary Jane's role in this issue is, she's moved to Chicago and opened up a new nightclub called Jackpot, where she talks about how all the people at her club are making her lifelong dream come true. Let me tell you something. Some of you know that I once tried this before. I had a club in New York City, but I forgot the one thing that anybody who wants to open up a business in New York has to remember, that New York City is where all the superpowered criminals, crooks, and vigilantes live. All of them. I don't think that's true. So of course
I don't like how she's talking like Jonah and calling all superheroes vigilantes, meaning Spider-Man and Peter's on that list.
So, of course, that club was destroyed. So I did the thing that I always wondered why those costume criminals didn't do. Leave New York. Okay, I'm going to ignore that line. Go somewhere where there are no Avengers, Defenders, X-Men, Dr. Octopuses. It's octopi. Come on. Dr. Dooms, and whoever else. So here we are in my new favorite city in the world, and I can't thank you enough for coming out and making this night so magical. So drinks are on me, you magnificent people. Okay, I'm sorry for all the women and impossible feminists that I just pissed off with that horrible impression of a female voice. I do apologize for that. But that equates to basically all of Mary Jane's dialogue in this issue, except for one line when she realizes that Whitney Frost, I believe her name is, comes in and starts causing a mess in the middle of the club. And who shows up? Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom. And Mary Jane's only word is, why? Yes. So how's that working for you, Mary Jane? That whole leaving New York and leaving all the vigilantes and super criminals behind. So yes, James, we'll go to you.
Well, this is. I don't agree with that with those lines where she's kind of all dissing all the superheroes and is completely angry at them because of what happened in like Superior. Like literally, it goes all the way back to Superior. It just feels really forced to make her now that she doesn't like superheroes. And the whole why is like making her out like she is Jonah now. It's like a Jonah thing. I'm finally in this city away from those superheroes. Iron Man comes crashing into his club. Damn it! You know what? That's something you see Jonah doing, not MJ, if you ask me.
I can see the
And
Jonah comparisons there.
and the other dumb thing I don't like about that is New York isn't the only city in the Marvel Universe. It's the big majority, but it's not the only city that gets attacked. I mean, Amazing's showing that. I mean, there's been attacks in San Francisco and Asia and all over the globe. It's not just New York where everything happens. So that was kind of dumb right there.
Yeah. Okay. To be honest with you, my biggest problem with this issue was actually the fact that it was so decompressed that basically nothing happened, and that it was a bit of false advertising. I'll say that. That kind of irked me a little bit. I didn't care for the disingenuous misleading, but I will say that some of the things that bother James didn't bother me as much. I mean, I see his point definitely with him not liking Mary Jane being so against superheroes. I personally was not a fan of the whole she is saying, why don't if costume criminals want to get away from the superheroes, why don't they just go to another city? I didn't really like that. That just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I
That's
didn't
happened
like.
before. That's happened before. Like Spider-Man, he went to Pittsburgh or Philadelphia to fight villains before because he found out that they left to go there. I mean, Spider-Man right now in his own book is traveling across the country to fight villains.
And plus, it's like I also just didn't care for the. I mean, you could just chalk this up to character ignorance, but I really don't think, given Mary Jane's past with Peter, I don't think she should be ignorant to the fact that no, not all superheroes are based in New York.
And
I,
not
I
all of them are and not all of them are criminal vigilantes.
I mean, vigilantes, yes, a lot of them are, but not criminals. In fact, I think that's part of the reason that they do what they do is that they're trying to stop the criminals.
Well, her ex-boyfriend is not even a vigilante legally. Like that's one of the things he even told Jonah a few weeks ago. I'm not a vigilante. I'm a card-carrying superhero.
Yeah, he's a card-carrying member of the Avengers now, so
Like that line there just doesn't really fit because the Superheroes Registration Act is no longer valid. He's not illegal no more.
it's just I wasn't like completely against this. I
If they
don't
like, if they would have done this with her, like when they put her off the book for like the first year post Brand New Day or One More Day during the Brand New Day run when she was gone for all that time, if they would have had her doing this and she would have said the vigilante line, I can give them a pass because it would have fit there because the Restoration Act was still in effect and it was to get her off the books for a while and she's in another city. I can live with that. Now it doesn't fit. She sounds like a female Jonah, and it's a stupid dialogue if you ask me. But I can't really get mad at it because literally nothing happened. I'm more
yeah,
mad about the other shit, but that's because that's just Bendis being Bendis, and I'm always mad when I'm reading a Bendis title and it gets like that.
and James, and to give a little bit of context here, James and I were discussing this before the show. Dan Slott with Amazing Spider-Man has said multiple times that the reason he doesn't write Mary Jane is because he cannot give the fans what they want because editorial will not allow him to. He's been very vocal about that. And so what he did with Mary Jane at the end of Superior Spider-Man was kind of give her that anger, that fury at Peter. No, not really just at Peter, but at the entire idea of what his life is and the life of a superhero and what that entails for the people around him. And so that is why she left New York to come here in the first place. And so now Bendis is kind of taking the ball and running with it at that point, which is why he's using her in Iron Man, because outside of a few occasional cameos in Amazing Spider-Man, and this is discarding Renew Your Vows because that's in a separate universe. Apart from a few occasional cameos in the ASM book written by Slott, Mary Jane really hasn't been seen since mid-2014. So I want to know, James, what
Other
are
than
you
calling
just
him an
thinking?
idiot.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Other than calling him an idiot in the first issue, that's about it, wasn't it?
Yeah, and she also showed up at the end of issue 3 of ASM Volume
Oh
3.
yeah, because that's what the dumbass thing where both her and Peter said the reason why she can never be with him again is because she doesn't want to be, waiting up at night wondering if her boyfriend's dead. When let me remind you, her boyfriend's a firefighter.
Yeah, that didn't really make a lot of sense because I think putting their lives on the line, is what firefighters, they have the incredibly tough job
They're
and that's what they do.
they're the real life superheroes.
Yeah, firefighters are some of our real life superheroes, Mary Jane. Yeah, I completely forgot the point I was even going to make with all that lead in.
About Bendis and Slot.
Yeah, I was going to say, James, given the context of what Dan Slott has been given to work with Mary Jane, and given how Bendis is just trying to make the character a little bit more relevant, can you form a different perspective of it from that angle, or is that angle informing your current perspective on what is happening with the character in this title?
Uh, it, it's only issue one, so I can't really say. But but her dialogue, it's clear that Bendis is doing well. This is where she was left off, so I have to continue it from there. Because Slot, I don't blame him for it. Like I said before the air, he did because what he literally had to do because Marvel wouldn't let him. I mean, he outright even said, "Renew your vows" was him getting the two of them out of being together out of his system, pretty much. Uh, so he had to get her off the book. So he wrote it better, like give a different reason for why she's off the book. Like maybe Peter telling her, "You got to leave me because all the shit that happened with Otto. I don't want another thing like that to happen to you again. So leave and have your own life. Goodbye." Kind of like the whole ending of Spider-Man 1. This is my curse kind of thing. He could have maybe wrote it differently like that instead of making her now she's a bitch who hates Peter and because of that she hates all superheroes, I guess. But it's just like you can't really blame him for that. Because let's face it, I'll say this right now: Bendis is writing a Spider-Man book, and he has outright said he put Mary Jane here in Iron Man because nobody with the Spider-Man books wanted to use her, and he has the Spider-Man book, which leads me to believe that it's more of a case of editorial doesn't want the Spider-Man people to use her. And so it's like, well, if I want to use Mary Jane. Well, you can't use her in Spider-Man because we want her off the Spider-Man books. Well, then can I put her in my Iron Man run? Good, put her there. That's what it literally feels like to me.
I mean, that is all hearsay. We can't confirm any of that. That is all fan speculation. But I mean, I do think Mary Jane would be a much better fit for the Miles Morales book. I think she could do great stuff in there, seeing as she's known Peter so long. Granted, I can see the argument that given the status that she was left off at with Dan Slott and the end of Superior Spider-Man, I could see how that could be kind of a rough transition, but at the same time,
if written well, it could be handled well.
I do think it could. I think maybe you could find ways around it if Bendis were to maybe incorporate something maybe Miles does, or maybe she meets Miles and sees the genuine warmth and is encouraged by his heart or something like that, or maybe Miles helps her in some way. And
yeah, like maybe even do it like she'll take him in kind of thing, because I can't remember, is any of Miles' family in the Marvel universe, or is he an orphan now? But nobody.
I believe someone said that Miles' supporting cast will be coming with him to the 616, or Earth 8 as it is now known.
Okay, because what they could have done is have Mary Jane kind of like take him in, find out that he's another Spider-Man from another world, and because of that, she wants to help him so that way he doesn't become like Peter kind of thing.
That is an interesting idea that I think it could work. Now, a lot of people are getting up in arms about the whole anti-Spider-Man logo right there, and let's
It's a joke.
yeah, it's a joke. And something else that's a joke, I want to read from the letters pages. Someone asked Marvel editorial and the Iron Man editors about guest stars in Invincible Iron Man, and they said, as for guest stars, we have no plans to let those shifty Spidey guys steal MJ back anytime soon. She's ours, I tell you, ours. And then they put the anti-Spider-Man logo in there. Your writer of Invincible Iron Man is writing Miles Morales' Spider-Man book, which you guys have been pushing as the book that is just as important as ASM is. Miles is just as much of a Spider-Man as Peter is.
Hell, some
So
people in Marvel are pushing it as being more important because it's the classic Spidey book.
when you also have another classic Spidey book out, ironically enough, entitled Spidey. So
But you know
it's
what I mean? They have outright said if you don't want to read the newer, Spider-Man Inc., I guess you can call it, because like Batman Inc., it's Spider-Man Inc. If you don't want to read that kind of version of it, they're like, oh, Miles' book is perfect for you, because then it's the teenage web between Wonder fighting all the classic rogues and stuff like that.
yeah. So I can definitely see what they're trying to be sarcastic with this. They're trying to be humorous. I don't think this anti-Spider-Man stuff is meant to be taken seriously. Once again, it's pretty much like the cover. It's meant to sell comic books. I was a bit peeved off that this was promoted as, oh, make way for Mary Jane, and she is on, let's see, 1, 2, 3 pages. I was a bit, because I paid $3.99 for this book. I mean, I was going to pay $3.99 for this anyways because I am picking up Iron Man regularly, and I am enjoying this series overall by Brian Bendis and the team. I have enjoyed this series in general, but I was a bit disappointed when I paid over $4 for this, including Ohio taxes, and I got 3 pages of Mary Jane, and on one of those pages she was on one panel with one word. So I didn't care. I didn't care for the lying, but anyway, James, any final thoughts on Mary Jane in Invincible Iron Man #4?
Goddamn Bendis filler, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, just if we didn't make it clear already, this issue is basically Tony Stark fighting with Friday, the artificial intelligence that we all know from Age of Ultron, the movie. So, yeah, that's pretty much it's pretty much all this issue is. Though I will say I will give Bendis props for the scene where Tony lets the little sick kid from St. Jude's Children's Hospital try out the armor. I thought that was nice. That was a nice scene.
I'm gonna do my show. Bye. Sorry, it's my mom.
James is interrupted by familiar relations on YouTube. All right. That's pretty much all we have for Invincible Iron Man with Mary Jane in it. Once again, we're basically using the same excuse from last week. Association with the main character is how we justify talking about it on this show. And plus, I knew James would want to talk about this because Mary Jane's a character that he's very passionate about. I like Mary Jane as well. I'm not nearly as passionate about her as James is, so I'm just kind of throwing James a bone here, especially since he threw me a bone last week with talking about Civil War.
Since Tony Stark is John's butt buddy.
What? Okay, I'm not even going to touch that one. Okay.
Joke, John. God damn it.
I'm not even going to touch that one. Okay, this podcast just took a turn for the dirty. We're going to move away from that. Oh, man, how do we even segue off of that?
We don't. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
Steve Roster and John's butt buddy. Good night.
Oh man, I'm so sorry for the people James just offended. I'm so sorry. I do not condone any of that.
Who did I offend? You?
I don't know.
Did I offend Steve Rogers who could do better than you?
Let's just drop it. Just drop it. Okay, we're gonna hit up a classic story this week. Merciful gosh. Oh gosh. Where do we go from here?
Sorry about it. It was just too good of a joke to pass off. I'm sorry.
Man, okay.
People are going to be mad because the rest of the podcast is just going to be me laughing for an hour.
Yeah, it's 11:37 at night here in Northeast Ohio. I don't really know how to respond to this. My brain stopped working a while ago. Okay, what are we even talking about next? Okay, we're gonna tackle a few classic issues. Just to round out the show here. We're just gonna hit up a short 2-parter this week. We didn't want to get too in depth into another story. We knew we were going to be talking about Mary Jane and Iron Man this week. So we are going to hit up Amazing Spider-Man numbers 127 and 128. These are right in the middle of Jerry Conway's first run on Amazing Spider-Man. To give a little bit of context, this is just coming off of the demise of Gwen Stacy and Norman Osborn. Where the character's at right now, well, Harry Osborn is in he's in a state of a little bit of insanity, instability. He's being kind of a dick. He's isolating himself from his friends, all that stuff. Meanwhile,
the issue before it ends, the ending cliffhanger to the issue before is him in the Green Goblin suit, mask off, obviously, but Mary Jane's knocking on his door wanting him to go out on a date, and he's standing her up, and she's all mad about it. And he goes, I don't want to go out on a date with her. Father wouldn't like it if I take her out. Yeah, he doesn't want nobody to know about his Green Goblin suit. It's now mine, all of mine.
All right, so also at this time, Peter and Mary Jane...
And then he creepily took a piece of pie and then said it's delicious, and sorry, wrong continuity.
So also at this time, Peter and Mary Jane are sort of becoming more acquainted. Their friendship is growing deeper, and they are sort of they're taking steps towards casually dating. They're not really going steady yet. They're taking steps that they're trying to move along, not move too quickly because of Peter's still pretty fresh wound about Gwen.
Yeah, this would be the equivalent of, like, in real life, somebody's girlfriend dying, and then a month later he's dating the hot redhead who, ironically enough, he was debating about dating in the first place before the other girl. So
that's kind of where these characters are right now. He's still kind of hurt like Gwen. He's trying to kind of bond with Mary Jane. They're taking it pretty slow. They're not really dating. They're sort of growing a mutual friendship between each other.
Their first date is not until the first Harry Green Goblin issue, I think.
Yeah, it's around that time. It's around that set of issues.
It's the wedding one. It's the Aunt May wedding one because their first date's the Christmas party.
Yeah. So James is gonna tackle the recaps. We're gonna tackle both issues in one. We didn't really feel the need to split the issues up. It's a pretty solid two-part story that can be handled pretty quickly, and we thought it would just be easier to condense it down into one segment. So James is going to tackle the recap for both issues at once. So James, why don't you run down the creative team and the recap of Amazing Spider-Man 127, 128. Give us the summary of the story.
Well, this is the first part of this Vulture arc, Dark Wings of Death, as Stan Lee presents The Amazing Spider-Man, written by Jerry Conway, however you pronounce it, Ross Andrew, F. Giacomo and D. Hunt. I'm sorry I'm mispronouncing those names. Tom Orzechowski, letterer, colorist, I can't pronounce his name, Glenn's Wine, is that it? And Roy Thomas, editor.
All right. Why don't you give us a summary? What happens?
Better with pronouncing. John's probably obviously better than reading out names than I am. So.
Who cares? It's not an English class, James, or a speech class.
Well, anyways, the issue begins like every classic Spider-Man issue begins a murder. Spidey's web swinging past Mary Jane's house, and he sees a dead woman on the ground. And because Mary Jane is the only person looking out the window at it in shock, he comes up to the only logical conclusion that she must have solved the murder. So he goes swinging up to the roof to change his clothes, go to Peter. He knocks on her door, which has her name on it. I don't know if that's actually a thing. It's kind of weird.
I've never seen that before in real life, so...
When he knocks on it, she comes in there, and she's obviously scared to death, and Mary Jane is still... She's starting to make the small steps to the serious Mary Jane that comes later, but she's still the party girl here. It's the 70s. And Peter knows, okay, this is the girl who never lets anything get to her, and she's, like, curled up in the fetal position, scared to death. So he's here... Yeah.
As you kind of would be.
Yeah, you just witnessed a murder. Yeah, you would be. In New York, no less. So Peter talks to her, gets her some coffee. She's all freaking out here. And she knows who it is, but she doesn't want to say who it is because obviously she's afraid of the person coming after her, which is normal, like me and John said. Peter leaves and he's all mad that somebody would try to hurt Mary Jane, so he goes web swinging to find out who did it, and lo and behold, the Vulture is after him. Him and the Vulture fight for a little bit, and then after the fight, Vulture knocks Spider-Man down and he falls, and he realizes, damn it, this sucks. Oh well, let me go build my car now with Johnny Storm. Remember that from 2 weeks ago, people?
Oh man.
So Peter goes up to Tony. Peter goes up to Johnny, and he's like, "So, ready to build my car?" And he's like, "Bitch, yeah!" And they start building it, and they're having a bro moment as they build the Spider-Mobile. And then Peter's like talking about, "Hey, can I build one myself one day?" And he goes, "And you will own the Baxter Building too. Good one, Peter."
But don't worry. I'll put a statue in the front entrance, though. Don't worry.
Yeah, sure, Peter. So Peter goes back to his apartment. He goes to talk to Harry, and he's all like, "Hey, Harry, how's it going? I know your dad's dead and all, and he died the same day my girlfriend died, but you know what? Everything's okay now. We're having lunch together because we're just best friends, right?" And then Harry just freaks out at him and says, "We were never really friends, Parker. You're just a roommate that helped me pay rent. Ha, 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 I'm evil now." And then again, he took a bite of piece of pie, and he said how delicious that is, and he smiled statistically at it, and he said, "Gotcha."
Okay, let me just point this out. Peter handled that horribly. He really did handle that horribly.
It's like he handled that Flash situation in the freaking Hobgoblin issue. Hey, Flash, you remember the time when you were a bully, but now you're a dick? But now you're literally a piece of crap?
Oh, jeez.
This is like Peter doing that again. Hey, Harry, your dad's dead and so is my girlfriend, but let's be happy roommate friends again. I liked you on Facebook.
No wonder this guy doesn't have a lot of friends. He has no social skills.
He says, "Look, Harry, I understand why you've been upset since your father died. You think Spider-Man killed him, but trust me, he's all right. Spidey didn't kill Norman Osborn. I mean, trust me, we're friends, right? We can't be still friends. After all, buddy, we've been together a lot, an awful long. Friends, is that who you thought we were, Peter? We never have been. You're just sharing an apartment with me. That's all. Do you hear me? That's all." And then he started talking about how the number 6 is perfect for whatever reason. And then after this, Peter goes to college, and he bumps into Mary Jane, who's also mad at him, too, because now she's claiming that she made up the whole story about seeing a murder, even though Peter knows that she's not making that up, because even if he doesn't know that she knows he's Spider-Man, he would have still walked past the dead freaking body on the ground when he was going to her apartment. He knows you're not lying about that, Mary Jane.
Yeah, it's probably a standard coping mechanism for stuff like that.
I mean, it is Mary Jane, after all. This is part of Mary. Ironic enough, Mary Jane is doing the thing that Mary Jane's most famous for here in these issues. Lying about how she's perfectly fine and when everything's not perfectly fine. So Conway, I guess you could say, invented it in this issue. And then Flash Thompson rolls up in his car, and he's all like, "How do you like my wheels, guys? Isn't this awesome?"
And then Peter Parker points out and says, "Hey, look, it's the walking piece of crap."
Hey, look, it's Venom. So then all of a sudden the three of them go for a ride, and they start driving in, and all of a sudden who shows up at the Vulture? Who's after Mary Jane, and Mary Jane starts freaking out as he's reaching for her. Obviously, like you would, and then everything's going wrong. Peter jumps out of the car, and he's excited because, or not really excited, but he's relieved because he had to do a Spider-Man, like, flip in the air like a freaking Jedi. And then he's like, "Oh, Flash is knocked out, unconscious in the car. That means he didn't see me doing that flip. Awesome. He could be dead, Peter."
James, I want to point something out. Peter takes the time. Literally, this is the most anvil to the head safety first promotion I've ever seen in a Spider-Man comic. Because I was reading the issue, and Peter's talking about how, oh, Flash was only saved by his seatbelt. It's the only reason he didn't go through the windshield and into that telephone pole. But this is no time for me to give a safety first promotion. I'm like, really? Because you just did. not that safety first isn't a noteworthy thing, but it was the most anvil to the head thing I read in the whole issue.
Yeah. But then again, it's supposed to be that ironic thing. Get it? He doesn't think he's giving a commercial for safety first when he is, because it's a comic book. And then,
Not
while he runs off, he bumps into Professor Warren, who's kind of acting like a dick for whatever reason. I don't know why. Let's just move on from him being a dick for no apparent reason whatsoever. It has nothing to do with clones. And then he dresses up as Spider-Man. He starts swinging after Mary Jane with the Vulture flying in the air. Spider-Man saves Mary Jane from the Vulture before Vulture drops him, and all of a sudden he thinks about Gwen, and it's classic Spider-Man. Not like Gwen! No! I caught her. Mary Jane! So he catches Mary Jane. He's all mad about it because she nearly died. Vulture then goes after some other woman. Spider-Man's fighting him, and the other woman tries to run away. As this is going on, Mary Jane's freaking out like he would be, and then Harry's like cheering on his friends dying. Yeah! Kill Flash! Kill MJ! Kill Peter! Kill them! 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 And then he started singing about how Spider-Man and the Punisher are sitting in a tree, MJ, and him. I just don't know what's going on with this character.
For anyone who doesn't know, that was also I'm sorry, wrong continuity moment.
Yeah. But no, seriously, Harry is freaking out that the fact that his friends are going to die.
Oh, yeah.
He outright says MJ deserves to die because my father was jealous of her. I'm not making this up.
Oh, gosh.
And then he continues to find Vulture, and then he falls, and will Spider-Man die? To be continued. In the next issue, which is once again written by Gary Conway. Ross Andrew did the art. Basically, everybody else is the same except there's it's a new colorist and letterer. Jay Costanza with lettering, and M. Brand is the colorist. And this is the Vulture hangs high, and I realize how badly sucky I do on these things, and this is why I wish John was still doing it. Spider-Man continues to fall, and of course he lands on a safety web net because that's what you do. As you can tell, I wasn't prepared to do this one as a recap, so I'm just going page by page in the comic here. So I'm just warning people right now. You've been warned. So Spider-Man continues fighting the Vulture, and he's remembering all his classic fights with the Vulture, and he realizes just something's up here. It doesn't connect. For some reason, dots don't connect with him wanting to be in a murder out of nowhere. He gives a recap about the issue before, and then a weird, crazy scientist who just happens to work at the school called Dr. Shallot is there, and funny enough, he's there, and it's all weird, and it's making Spider-Man's spider sense go nuts. Which can only mean one thing, obviously. He's the new Vulture.
But Peter does not put two and two together for about 15 more pages.
Yeah. And he realizes that the mystery girl is Gloria Jenkins when he goes to visit the Daily Bugle, while Gloria Grant's there. Oh, sorry, it's not her. It's just someone who happens to look a lot like her.
Miss Placeholder.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And it's that school registration. I just want to make the joke because it looks so much like Gloria Grant in those early issues when she finally does appear. And then, we also forgot, while Peter's on his way to the Bugle, he's, flirting with Mary Jane, who nearly got killed again.
And they ask him, "Hey, Pete, where'd you go in that mess?" And no one is shaken by that. No one is startled. It's just like, oh yeah, that totally just happened, because that's what you do.
But at least it makes sense here, his excuse, though. It's not like, during the Brainy Day era. Peter, why are you stuck to a wall? You must have super glued your hands. Like, that would be literally how people would jump to it.
Peter, what?
Like, hey, Peter, where were you when all this shit was going on? I was up on the roof taking pictures for my job. I'm in college. I got to pay the rent somehow. Okay, that makes sense.
Hey, Peter, what? Peter, why aren't I allowed to go in your closet? Remember that joke, James?
Yeah, I know. I know, I'm not touching it with a 50-foot pole. While at the Bugle, Jonah's freaking out and yelling at him, and he goes sees Ned, and Ned's like, "Hey, you getting in trouble, Peter?" And then Peter's like, "Yeah, ain't I always in trouble?" You know, to be fair, there's a lot of it to ask, and then they start talking because the story about who murdered the girl, and then Spider-Man goes around. He meets up with a drunk guy who tells him the location of stuff. He saves some people. He fights the new Vulture some more. Mary Jane is still freaking out, and Peter's like, "Okay, enough of this. You're going with me. We're going to the cops. You're telling them what's going on. I'm not gonna have another girl die on me. Okay, we're going." And he grabs her forcefully by the hand and throws her into a cab.
Oh, hey, James just dropped off the call. Um, I guess that's just unfortunately what happens when James has haven't been having some technological issues over the past couple of weeks. His laptop unfortunately failed on him, and so now he's been forced to broadcast via his phone. So that's why his picture and his sound is a little bit different. And that's also why I don't know if you've noticed it throughout this broadcast, but we're getting close-ups on his mouth, and that's just because he's holding his phone, which is actually fairly. I don't know. It's just strange. Oh, hey, there's James. There's James once again. Hi, James.
Okay, where was I?
You were talking about Peter and Mary Jane going to the cops.
Okay, Peter throws Mary Jane to the cabin. What will you know? The Vulture ends up attacking the cab to get to Mary Jane. Spider-Man fights him, and he pushes the guy into a machine, puts something on his head, and then, of course, he puts some liquid in him and says, "Happy birthday, handsome." And it turns out to be the antidote that turns this guy from the Vulture into his normal self again. He explains Scooby-Doo way about how, this is what happened. I'm going to explain everything why this was his motive and why he did it and how did he turn this way. And then the guy said, "I would have got away with it too. It wasn't for you meddling Spider-Man." And then he leaves, and then it's always like, he was a murderer now, and now it's all over. And then we end with the promise that we'll find out basically probably a reason why Professor Warren acted weird in that panel, as it tells us that the next issue introduces the Jackal.
All right, James. So, what are you thinking of ASM 127, 128 here? What do you think of this story?
It's a good story. It's clearly at the time period where you can definitely see the Bronze Age is taking over, because it is getting kind of dark in Amazing Spider-Man, where every issue is somebody's going to die. I know it's comics. Almost every issue is always someone's going to die. But this is what is starting to really, shit hits the fan about it. Because you got Mary Jane who witnesses the murder, and the whole two-parter is nothing about making sure that she doesn't get killed like Gwen did. That's pretty good. You got some really great development with Harry and the Green Goblin thing, with him wanting his friends to die. It really makes a weird context with him now running Parker Industry and just being like, "Don't forget I was a Green Goblin," because this issue shows in his mind he's already the new Green Goblin. And you see he wishes that all three of his friends would just die right now. And then, of course, we got Peter being the most unsensitive asshole ever. "Hey, your dad's dead, and you think it was Spider-Man. But trust me, Harry, he wouldn't do that to you, because we're friends, right? BFF Facebook friends, right?"
My gosh, that's almost painful to read.
Now, to be fair, Amazing Spider-Man 2 did this too with Harry and Peter, but they did it better. They had tension. They had Harry feeling betrayed by his friend. Here it was just, "Hey, I know you think Spider-Man killed him, but I'm making money off his photo, so he's a nice guy. You believe me, we're friends, right?" And so you got that.
I want us to be friends, Harry. I want us to trust each other. Then be honest with me. If you knew who he was, would you tell me?
Yes? Oh, I didn't think you were going to say that, Peter. Thank you for befriending me. That's all I need right now. And then there's no Green Goblin at all for the rest of the Raimi trilogy. Yeah, it's really good. The artwork's really good because I'm a huge fan of Ross Andrews' artwork. Conway is Conway. It's got a lot of his elements in there. The Spider-Mobile. I know Dan Slott brought it back, but still, it's a what are they thinking moment. and it completely takes you out of the rest of the story. It's like, wow, this new Vulture is trying to kill Mary Jane. Oh, what the hell? I'm gonna go and build a car now with Johnny Storm with the Fantastic Four. Literally, it's like completely like almost ruins the story there. But besides that, it's actually pretty good, and I just don't know why they didn't use the classic Vulture here, because this new Vulture never appears again in the book at all.
All right, so James, do you give it a thumbs up, sideways, or down in terms of the story?
Thumbs up.
All right, now before I go into my review, I just want to give some context here. James, while you were away, I found it. I was explaining to them all of your technical issues, and this continued even after you came back. We're getting these weird close-ups on your mouth for whatever reason.
Really?
Yeah, we don't know what. It's a little bit strange.
Well, the good news is I'm getting the laptop in about 2 weeks. They said before Christmas, so give or take 2 weeks, because they got to get the part in to fix my sister's old one, because it's cheaper to fix one of my sister's old ones, which is not really old. It's like only a few years old. So to fix that one, and then they're going to give that to me. So it's cheaper. So, and they said to get the parts, it'll be like a week, and then it'll be a week to build it, so about 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, you won't got to worry about this no more with me. So yay.
All right, I'll go into my thoughts on ASM 127, 128. Overall, it's a story that's just kind of meh for me. It's not really anything great, but it's not really anything terrible. It's an average Spider-Man story. It's not offensive. It's not great. I do think that in terms of the artwork, I've been openly critical of Ross Andrew. I don't dislike the guy. I'm not personally fond of his style. It's not something that appeals to me. And so, what the hell is that noise?
What?
Oh, I thought I heard talking. Oh, that's feedback from me.
I'm about to say, John, are you hearing voices in your head?
Every day, James. Every day. They keep telling me. They keep telling me things. I'm still hearing feedback. Anyways, I've been openly critical of Ross Andrews' style. It's not something I'm personally fond of. I don't know if it's objectively good or bad. It's probably objectively good, since Ross Andrew was in the professional art gig, so he could do it. I'm just not personally fond of his style, but I think that I think I like it a bit more in this story. I think I don't know what it is different about it. It looks better to me. I know that's a very inarticulate thing to say, but it doesn't bother me as much in this story. The whole thing with the new Vulture, I like James said, I don't really understand the need for a new Vulture, especially due to this is sort of existential to the story, but he never appears again after this arc, so I don't really see what the point of him was. And plus, you probably could have accomplished a similar story just using the regular Vulture.
Yeah.
So I didn't really understand that part. We made fun of Peter Parker, having no social skills in this issue, but I like the stuff between him and Mary Jane. I especially like the realism with Mary Jane was portrayed. I thought that was really well done, and I thought Conway pulled that off very well. The Harry Osborn moments are just batshit insane, and that's why I enjoyed them. It's just like it's a great lead up to him becoming the Green Goblin in later stories, as we know in retrospect. So I like all of that stuff. I do think there is solid action between Spider-Man and the new Vulture. I thought that those sequences were quite entertaining. I thought that there was a lot of good banter from Spider-Man. Like I mentioned, the the very anvil to the head scene of Peter Parker forcing safety first down the throat of children, which once again is a noble cause. Safety first is actually something you should know about and something you should care about. But it was not subtle at all. A funny sequence in this: Spider-Man and the Human Torch working on the Spider-Mobile. Yeah, because that won't come back to bite us at all. But yeah, that I found to be particularly funny. I thought that this was a fairly well done mystery case, though. I thought Conway wrote the mystery narrative of it pretty well. Peter having to look for clues to discover, to untangle the plot. I thought that was pretty well done. So overall, this story had some negatives, had some positives. Overall, I give it a thumb sideways. It's not one you really need to be rushing out to read, but if you're bored, you have some time, I'd say give it a crack. It's worth reading. It's readable. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's meh. Thumb sideways from me. So that's pretty much going to do it for this review, and that's also going to do it for this episode of the podcast. We don't really have much else to discuss. So, James, any shout-outs or final words for the listeners before we sign off?
First, shout out to two different gateways. One is to my school because finals are coming up and I can't wait. And our menus are going to be Tuesday, and I can't wait to eat my food. And so, even though I know there's not a chance in hell that they're watching this because I never told them about it, but still, shout out to my two teammates, Patty and Carly. Shout out to you guys. And final shout out is on our way to Gateway because that's my sister's old computer. Because of that being able to be fixed, I can be able to get back on my actual scene and not be on my freaking phone for all these episodes. So, yay.
All right, my shout-out this week, Marvel, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Brian Bendis, David Marquez, Jared Conway, Ross Andrew, everyone who gave us all the comics we reviewed this week. Thank you very much for Spider-Man and Mary Jane. My shout-outs this week, I'm enjoying Supergirl still. I enjoy that, so shout-out to that. We will give condolences to people who... Yeah, you know what, James? We got a full season order for Supergirl this week, and... You know what else? The ratings went up this week. So you know what? Suck it. We will. You know what, James? You know what? For those of you who can't see what I'm doing on iTunes, be thankful because I'm doing things that my mother told me never to do.
Oh, so you mean things that are pretty normal for everybody else?
Other shout-out this week, we will move into a little bit more of a serious note here. Thoughts and condolences go out to California and all the people who were unfortunately shot there. It's another... It's sad that we have to say it's another mass shooting tragedy, but...
It's sad that we have to say it's another terrorist attack mass shooting tragedy.
Yeah, it's not something that should happen. So, I don't really have any other shout-outs this week. That's all we have for Spider-Man's Tangled Web Show this week. We thank everyone for tuning in. We hope to come back next week. We have a new issue of Amazing Spider-Man coming out next week, so we'll have that to discuss. That'll probably be our main topic for next week. And, yeah, that's pretty much all we have to say. So, thank you all for tuning in. Thanks to our live audience. We had quite a few people coming in and out of this episode, so thank you for that.
Can we say our number on air?
Keeping track so far, we've had 7 people.
Oh, so the whole viewership was Supergirl.
James, you're going to have to add a few more zeros onto that number if you want to get there.
Oh, 0 meaning nobody's watching it? Okay, John.
James, I like Supergirl. I don't make fun of you when you watch the Packers.
Because the Packers are actually good.
So is Supergirl, in my opinion. Come on, James. Throw me a bone here.
This is the internet. Nobody has an opinion. There's right and wrong, John.
Oh, gosh. We're going to end it on that note.
You know what the sad thing is? Like John said, finally he finds a DC thing he likes, and then me and Jan are giving him shit for it because we don't like it.
I love Supergirl. Wow, my voice just cracked there. Holy shit. I really like Supergirl.
Final shout out is to that, speaking of Super, that Batman vs. Superman trailer. Thank you for giving away the whole fucking movie in a 3-minute trailer. Just round of applause to you, DC.
Oh my gosh. Like, people,
literally,
that movie cannot...
watch that trailer. It gives everything away. Somebody else said it's like that guy who is asking out a girl and he's doing it right and he's saying all the right things, but then he doesn't shut up, and before he knows it, he had her number, but then he loses it because he won't shut the hell up. That is the Batman vs. Superman trailer.
Yeah, that movie cannot catch a fucking break, can it? Man.
Hey, you know how people are giving the Star Wars trailers praise because they're showing a lot but yet not giving away any plot details, and it's making you really want to go see the movie because you're mystery of what's going on? Yeah, let's fucking do the complete opposite of that. Of what's going to be the biggest movie of the goddamn summer. I mean, of this winter.
I was going to say, it's not coming out in the summer.
You know what I mean? But biggest movie of the whole freaking year. Let's do the complete opposite of what they've been doing with their trailers. Let's literally give away everything. It had me up until that goddamn Yo Mama fight between Batman and Superman in the beginning of it, because that was awesome with them going, well, at least our heroes aren't having reporters writing stories about him, saving cats from trees. Well, Gotham's here as a vigilante. Well, maybe he is, but we just don't like having freaks in clown makeup in our city. And then Lex Luthor shows up and completely ruins it by becoming all, wink, get it? Clark Kent and Superman in the same room meeting each other. Get it? Wink. Oh, Clark Kent, strong grip. You do not want to pick a fight with Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne. Wink.
Okay, let's turn this off before it turns into the Batman Superman bitching podcast.
Hey,
All right.
we let you talk about the Tony Stark, Steve Rogers bitching trailer. Of course, it's bitching in a cool way. Well, this is bitching in a bad way because goddamn the trailer sucked.
Yeah, because Steve Rogers is awesome, and Tony Stark is a jackass, but we still love him.
But Batman is Batman!
But James, you can't like Marvel and DC.
Well, suck it, I do.
Okay, I'm parodying those, to be honest, stupid people on the internet who always get in the Marvel DC debates. You can like both people.
What's this I got on Blu-ray? I got Man of Steel on Blu-ray. What's this? I got Spider-Man, the whole Spider-Man movies on Blu-ray.
Wow, Marvel DC fan crossover? It can happen? What? All right, we'll turn this off now.
Thanks for... I found right here. I like Man of Steel. Suck it, bitches.
All right, we'll turn this off. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next week. We'll talk some Amazing Spider-Man. Thanks for tuning in, guys.